Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in this evening's podcast, we're going to be reviewing the fixtures taking place over the festive period, Christmas and, of course, the New Year's coming up. And joining me this evening to review and also preview these matches, we have returning to the platform, Christophe.
Good to be back again with you.
Yes, indeed, Christophe. I hope you had a good Christmas.
I did, and how about you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely spend some time with the family, eat some food, and just take in the festive period. Uh, Hope our viewers and subscribers also had a good time with their families and just, showing appreciation and celebration in this Christmas period. And of course, we have the New Year's to look forward to. And of course, some festive fixtures have been taking place as well in the footballing world. And Christoph, we haven't been back on the podcast since that massive game, Liverpool versus Arsenal. That one, of course, ending in a draw. Christoph, talk to us about that game. I mean, how did you see that game? Was that a good result for Arsenal going forward, so to speak?
Um, in a way, I mean it's a neutral result. You still get 1 point. You still maintain being top of the table for that match. Um, I think Arsenal would be disappointed based on how they performed early in that match. They were dominating the game and taking it to Liverpool. Um, However, Liverpool being the home team, I guess, would be disappointed to not having received all 3 points. But watching that game, while Liverpool did grow into it after getting that gifted that goal by Zinchenko, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a brilliant pass from Trent Alexander. It was a brilliant finish from Mo Salah, but it was just very poor defending by Zinchenko,
Mm,
right? I I wouldn't say it's a goal that Liverpool broke down Arsenal and scored a goal. It's Zinchenko is just poor at defending, and especially
yeah, but well, I
defending
mean,
against an elite attacker. No, 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 no. It's Salah is brilliant. You have
yeah, I
heard me
mean,
praise
Chris,
Salah.
yeah, definitely.
I'm not saying Salah is bad or anything like that. I'm just saying to how brilliant Salah is, Zinchenko, if you put him against a good winger, he's going to get beat. That's just it.
Mm,
Had it been a better defender, I don't think it would have been such an easy goal for Liverpool.
I
Because
see.
if you note if you look back to the defeats that Arsenal have suffered this season
Right,
so
right.
far, those 3 games that they have lost, Premier League games that they have lost in, it has not been a case where they've played a team that outplayed them or some brilliant attacking play and they scored. It has been either poor defending or VAR.
But I
No,
mean, that's the
no
nature of
team.
the game, though,
Yeah,
Christoph. I
no, no,
mean,
it's fine.
oftentimes you don't necessarily have to show dominance per se over a team. Sometimes it's just a case of being clinical, taking your chances,
No, I'm
and then
I'm not
pretty
saying
much
that.
putting
I'm
up
not.
a
Yeah,
stout defensive showing.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you look at how the games have gone, I think in that match,
But I mean,
Arsenal should. I think Arsenal should be more upset about drawing that game than Liverpool because early
I think
on they were playing
Liverpool would
well.
have probably felt they could have gotten the 3 points. I mean, especially with that breakaway, 5 versus 1.
But that's the
That
point
should
that
have
that
been buried. I mean, that goal should have been buried, and
ah
that would have
definitely
sealed it.
that goal should have been made. I think Salah should have taken the shot himself. But that kind of goes back to the point that I was making earlier. No team has come and broken down Arsenal and scored any goals. Liverpool's goal, defense poor defending, first goal. Second goal was a mistake. Zinchenko blocking Odegaard shot.
Well,
So
I
that
mean,
is how that chance came. So
yeah,
Liverpool didn't break down Arsenal to get some brilliant counter attack or something. It was a mistake by
yeah, I
Zinchenko.
mean, definitely, for sure. I mean, but that's the nature of football in general. I mean, oftentimes it's the mistake of defenders that lead to goal and not necessarily a team cutting you to pieces, so to speak. I mean, that wasn't the case in this game. Again, Liverpool went behind. which has been, a
Mm,
characteristic trait of this
of this
Liverpool
season.
team this season. Going behind and then coming back. And in this case, they came back, drew the game. But as I said, the sort of chances which Liverpool got, especially that 5v1 chance, that should have been buried by Trent. But, subsequent replays saw the ball took a bubble which lifted it and he hit it on the post. But for sure, that should have been a goal which sealed that game. So I must say, Liverpool would have felt that Arsenal escaped, with a point and would have been kicking themselves to have not taken all three. But it's the nature of the game. Arsenal at that point was still top of the table, and we move. The next game coming up for Arsenal, I believe they have a match tomorrow, Christophe, versus West Ham, I believe. So the next game for Arsenal faces West Ham come tomorrow. And with the sort of pressure being applied at the top of the league by both Liverpool and Aston Villa and Man City as well, Christophe, Man City getting a come from behind win today versus Everton. Were you paying attention to that game by any chance?
I was. I did look at it for a bit. I watched the second half. It was interesting. Um I I guess I kind of expected them to be somewhat fatigued from the Club World Cup, but it's not the highest level of competition there, so you know.
Everton has been playing some good football, and Everton at home usually putting up a stern defensive showing, but were cut to bits in the second half,
Yeah,
especially.
but they're coming into that game on the back of a loss. So, I think the players would be a little down, maybe the players would be fragile and then, coming to face Man City, right? So, they did go they went ahead, but Man City's quality just shone through in this game.
Yeah, it just goes to show that you cannot take this Man City team lightly. You can't rule them out. Don't let their position in the league table fool you. They still have a couple games in hand, and they're playing good football. They're getting the desired results, and they are still in this title race. In my opinion, they are still the team to beat. I cannot count them out. They are the team I'm looking at. Arsenal have their weaknesses. Some may say a bit inexperienced in terms of winning titles, but this Man City team have been there, done that, and of course the quality of the manager speaks for itself. So you can't take your eyes off Man City, definitely. But the next big game, Christoph, we saw Aston Villa going ahead versus Manchester United, 2 goals to nil, and Manchester United rallying to win that one 3-2. Who would have thought? How did you see that game? Was it down to Manchester United, or did Emery make some tactical errors in that one, Christoph?
Um, I, it was quite a shocker for me, to be honest, especially considering that, even the previous match for me with Aston Villa was also a shocker, drawing with Sheffield United. So I don't know if this is an indicator of them running out of steam early, or was it a case where Manchester United just decided to kind of show up for this match? It could be that, right? Because we've seen their Man U has been up and down this season. Majority of the season they've been poor, but they've had games where they have kind of been brilliant. So this could have been just, a flash of brilliance for them. But it could also be an indicator that Aston Villa might be running out of steam. I didn't see there were any tactical missteps or any tactical brilliance or Manchester United. They just got the win.
Definitely, Aston Villa drawing against, as you say, a resurgent Sheffield United, that new coach bounce. But for me, Christoph, having gone 2 goals up, I thought Aston Villa should have brought back their high line because they totally dominated the first half. It was in the second half that Manchester United really came into the game. But I believe Emery persisted with this super high defensive line when the only way Manchester United could really score was on the counter attack. And so said, so done. So I thought Emery made a defensive error in not allowing the players to drop a bit, especially in the second half, and having observed the dangers that Manchester United poses on the break or from their speedy wingers running on and beating the offside trap. And this was the undoing of Aston Villa. So it was quite surprising in terms of the tactical setup. Having gone 2 goals in this one, and as you say, it may very well be sign of things to come. But it's definitely a big shocker, a big upset to have gone 2 goals up away from home and having come away with nothing to show. But that has been the case with Aston Villa away from home. It's a complete night and day situation. Away from home, very poor. At home, pretty much no team in the league can beat them. They've beaten all the big names. Man City went to Villa Park, got beaten. Arsenal went to Villa Park, got beaten. So all the big name teams, what I believe they have 14 or 15 wins on the bounce at home, but their away form has been very up and down, very unpredictable. And this was just another example of that away form coming to the fore. But I mean, credit must goes to Manchester United, Christophe. I mean, Ten Hag pretty much, you know, getting a result when a result was definitely needed. And you could say possibly saving his job in the same breath.
I mean, winning one match, I don't think is going to save a job right away. Yeah, it is delaying at the moment. It's saving him from the chopping block at the moment. Because if the poor results return, then it's right back to square one. But Aston Villa's persistence with the high line could probably be overconfidence on the part of Emery.
I'm not sure if it's overconfidence or it's just a case of not reacting quickly enough, not, what should I say, reverting the tactics or changing the tactics based on how the situation of the game went. I mean, I can understand it going into the game as a game plan, which that plan worked to perfection in the first half,
Mhm.
going 2 goals up and pretty much Manchester United not getting a sniff at goal, while Villa was there creating some chances and also taking two of those chances. But I
But
mean, you have to change your tactics as you see how the game is progressing. And I thought Emery was definitely slow in making that tactical adjustment. Looking at the game, the only way Manchester United could score was on the counter. And on a number of occasions, the High Line got a scare. You got some warning signs to say, hey, you're 2 goals up, drop a little deeper, give your defenders a chance to react to the attacking play. But to me, it came too late. Emery was more reactive in this one, and Ten Hag, on the other hand, was more proactive in terms of his substitutions. And I mean, Manchester United could have played no poor in the first half, and they definitely came out in the second half with a lot more energy, a lot more, you know, uh, teamwork, and more pressing, winning the ball, better possessing it, and creating a few openings. So.
I mean,
Definitely a good result for United, but two poor result on the bounce for Aston Villa, and it seemed as if any title credential they had has been short-lived. You know, Running out of steam, as you mentioned earlier, is a possibility. Now dealing with a number of injuries and, of course, a few suspensions as well. But it is what it is.
I mean,
They have an opportunity in the January window to really replenish the stock and see if a few key signings could be made to bolster that squad. And they may yet have something to say where the title race is concerned, but they have definitely positioned themselves well in terms of a top four finish, though, Christoph. I mean, Spurs did manage to beat Tottenham as well. How did you see that game? The Spurs versus Everton game.
it is what I said. I think Spurs would win 2-1. Spurs were more dominant than I expected, but I guess you kind of expect them to dominate possession at home and especially against Everton, who they're going to get most of their goals this season, probably from set pieces. Maybe not directly, but as a result. So that much kind of went how I predicted it. I expected Tottenham
Yes.
to win. Didn't see Everton winning, but I did see Everton scoring a goal.
Yeah, myself, I thought Spurs would have won that game also, even though, Everton did come in that game on the back of some exceptionally good results, but I think, the Spurs team, anyone they come up against, seem to be finding a way to get some results. But what I admire about the Spurs team is that they're playing some good quality football in terms of the philosophy of the manager. And regardless of the opponents, that philosophy, that style of play, they are definitely imposing themselves on their opposition. And it was good to see again in this game versus Everton, where that style of play came to the fore, and players like Richarlison is really getting into some form. I am wondering to myself, however, how will they cope with the loss of Son to the Asian Cup? Will they be able to carry on? We saw the impact the loss of Madison had on the team, pretty much losing four on the bounce until they found back their footing. How will the loss of Son for a few games in the Asian Cup affect this team, Christophe? Do you see them taking a dip as they did when they lost Madison, or do you see them progressing as they are now?
Um, it's hard to tell. Son is obviously a massive loss for them. Their best player by far. But they have known for a while that Son would be going to the Asian Cup, so it is possible that Pastor Pogba has a plan for it, but I cannot say right now. First thought is yes, they will have a dip in form, or at least a dip in the goal scoring, but I can't say how it will affect them as yet. But definitely, Son massive loss. Teams will probably feel less threatened by Tottenham and will probably look to be attacking them more. So maybe Tottenham will switch to a more counter-attacking style of play.
Yes, and I mean, Tottenham has Brighton tomorrow, Christoph. Should be an excellent game for the neutrals. Brighton, their usual short passing, Barcelona-esque style. And of course, Spurs, similar. They want to be on the ball, combine passes, move the ball forward, progress it from defense to midfield. That should be an excellent game coming up tomorrow for the neutrals, where some real quality football could be on. And I mean, Brighton has been having a very up and down season. Spurs will definitely be looking to take advantage of this and make a further push for the top four. But Chris, looking at this game in particular, you see this one panning out. What can we expect from these two teams?
Um, I expect Tottenham to win just because this season Brighton doesn't see they're not the quality that they were last season. It seems to me as if maybe they've been found out by the teams and they're being stopped from play. It could be in the middle of the pitch that they're just missing that defensive midfield, that holding midfielder, having sold, Caicedo. I think that might be the major loss for them at the moment. But it could also be because of the club philosophy where they rotate a lot and bring in a lot of young players. So it could be affecting how they're playing at the moment. But I think Brighton is going to lose that game. I don't expect Tottenham to draw or drop any points. I think it's a Tottenham win. Brighton probably needs to look to the January window to strengthen in order to get themselves back up to the level that they were early last season. I thought they were brilliant last season. They didn't drop off until later in the season. But they definitely need something. Something is missing from that Brighton team. Maybe some adjustment needs to be made tactically, but the center of the park they look poor. Right? Their strength currently is on their wings with Mitomo. But they do need to do more. I think it's a Tottenham win 2-0.
Ah, yeah, I do concur, dear Christoph, with your assessment of this Brighton team. They have just been lacking in consistency. The table doesn't lie, to be honest. And right now they're sitting somewhere in and around mid-table. And definitely their form they're playing and the results they've been getting reflects a mid-table team, very inconsistent, very up and down. Some games they're firing, other games they are not. But one thing's remain sure, they usually score in their games. So their good hold up play and possession usually lead to a goal or two. The problem is they can't seem to keep the ball out of their back of their net. their defense is just super poor. And you may have hit the nail on the head right there in terms of the midfield presence of a Caicedo like holding our defensive type midfielder. In addition to that, as you made mention, the coming through or the bringing on of young players, there hasn't really been consistent starting 11 week in, week out. And that to me is one of the major factor that may be affecting their play and the sort of consistency you're looking for. So I can't disagree with the result either. I think Spurs should get a victory in this one also. I think it's going to be a very good game, very one which should be pleasing on the eyes. You see a lot of quality football being played, possession-based football, high press once the ball is lost, energetic sort of playing. And it's two teams, but I think Spurs may have just that little bit more quality. But I do expect to see goals in this match, especially in this festive period. So while I do think Spurs will win, I'm expecting a very high scoring game, possibly 3-1, 3-2, somewhere in that region. But I do expect goals. I do expect entertainment, end-to-end sort of action. But I think Spurs have that little bit more quality, as we had mentioned earlier. Players like Son, Richarlison is on some really good form as well. Johnson is coming on into his own as well. That signing from Nottingham Forest, and the Spurs team. Concern for me, though, I believe Romero is now out injured, though, Christophe. So that may be a weakness in the Spurs defense, which Brighton can possibly exploit through the likes of maybe a Ferguson, one of their young striker. On the Brighton side, of course, they've been dealing with a lot of injuries as well. I believe Mitoma may be out injured, or this game may come too soon for him, along with a few more injuries or suspensions that
I
Brighton.
mean,
But again, very
not
unpredictable to
not
say who Brighton will start with.
not only injured, but Mitoma will be going away shortly to the Asian Cup as well.
That's
So
true. That's
we
true. So
could see.
a lot of teams will be dealing with departures. I mean, even Liverpool, with the likes of a Mo Salah, who to tell how that may affect the team chemistry or the team play for those 2, 3, or 4 games that he may miss depending on how his side progress in that tournament. So even Spurs, with believe Bissouma should be going away to the African Cup of Nations as well. So a number of teams may be losing key players, Christoph, and this may very well be one of the key factors which determine the winner of this year's Premier League. How do teams cope when their players are away on international duties, whether it be the Asian Cup or whether it be the African Cup of Nations? But we're definitely in agreement as it relates to the Spurs game. I'll be locked in for this one, and seeing how this one plays out. But I do expect a Spurs win. But in general, Christoph, how have you been seeing this barrage of games taking place over the Christmas and into the New Year period? The games are pretty much coming thick and fast, and if you're not careful, you may find yourself being drawn down into the table.
Um, I mean, having football to watch is always nice, but I think maybe the FA might need to consider reducing the number of games around this festive period to, reduce the number of injuries that teams are picking up. Because, quite frankly, there's a lot of burnout that we see in football at the moment. I mean, one of the biggest victims of burnout in recent memory is probably, Alexis Sanchez. If you
Mm,
recall, after having four back-to-back, what's the tournament in South America called?
that's a Copa America.
A tournament that's supposed to be held every 4 years. They decided to have it every every year for 4 years for some reason, and then going back to 4 years. We see where players like Sanchez and a lot of those South American players did get burned out as a result of that. Um, and then we saw it last year, with the World Cup, we did see where a lot of players got injured at the World Cup, and when they came back, they were not firing as they did earlier in the season. So I think there needs to be like a reduction of fixtures during this festive period. I get it, traditionally they want to do these Boxing Day matches or
Yeah,
right.
definitely. But Christoph, I mean, I thought that is one of the reasons why the five substitutions were introduced, where players could rest. I mean, coaches or teams could rest players who may be at risk of getting injured. But I find that not many coaches are maximizing these substitutions.
Right,
So I'm not
because
sure if that plan is working in
oh
terms of, the five subs.
and the problem is outside of the big teams and specifically probably Manchester City at the moment because they basically have like two starting 11s. But outside of the big teams, the other teams don't necessarily have the quality on the bench that they have starting. So that could be a factor in them not using up all those five substitutions, or it could just be that some of the managers just not used to it as yet.
Ah, well,
I mean,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's
these five sub have been going on since COVID time. So, I
right,
mean,
but it
managers should be
was
familiar with. And interestingly, though, personally, I thought managers would have been more strategic in terms of how they employ the five subs. Because pretty much with five subs, you can change half of your team.
mhm,
Technically, you can pretty much make five substitution, which is almost half of your team.
right.
But managers, I'm not thinking that they are fully exploiting the subs to their maximum potential
I
in
agree
terms
with you.
of getting results. To be honest, I thought the subs could have been more strategic, where even a manager pretty much make four subs one time and just shake up maybe they're attacking four,
I
you
think
know?
four subs one time would be detrimental to your play, especially
Well, I
six,
don't know.
six,
I'm just thinking that
65th minute. Throw on four subs. I
yeah,
think that's a
because
poor
I'm thinking
decision.
managers could just say to their, let's say a manager say to their first 11 or their front five, just
Mhm.
give me everything you have in the first half. Give me everything. Don't hold back because we're gonna use four subs come 68th minute. You know, but I'm not seeing that. I'm not getting that. Most times managers make two or three subs, but I really don't see it being as tactical or as strategic as I would have thought. I think it's just being used as if it was like a three sub sort of situation still, but you know.
So, so hear me out. So you said it was used during COVID. It was, right? But after COVID, or after the end of that season, the 2019-2020 season, if you recall, those five sub were removed for the following season, so it was back to three. Um, and then the teams voted on it, and then it returned the following season after that. And I agree with you that I thought managers would use it more strategically. I think the problem is a lot of managers are still thinking of it in a traditional way. Um,
Right.
so when you look at a manager like Pep Guardiola, who is not afraid to make early substitutions to change a game, I think it's the rest of the managers are not innovative enough to see that, this is something I could do. All right, we won the first half. All right, this is how we want to do it. All right, my opponent is going to change how they're playing and going to do this. Let me sub off one of my wingers and put on a second striker because I think they're going to do XYZ. I don't think the managers are innovative. Most of the managers are innovative enough to see that. But also, like I said, I think it's also a lack of quality outside of the first team, the first 11, right? A
I
lot of
mean, that could
managers.
definitely be the case, definitely that could be the case. But the games are definitely coming thick and fast, and a number of teams are grinding out some good results. A team like Bournemouth, to be honest, have been in some real good form. We see the striker Solanke hitting a hat-trick there, and really progressing that team when some may have thought that they would have been, in the relegation fight. And we see a number of managerial changes as well. Nuno Santos coming in over there at Nottingham Forest, and we saw Sheffield also changing managers as well. I mean,
I
Burnley
mean,
has been getting some poor results, Christoph, and I'm thinking at this point in time, company job may very well be on the line if results don't change come January.
hard to tell, to be honest. I mean, they dominated the championship, so
Yeah, but
it
we
could be,
haven't seen
yeah,
that form carrying over to the EPL. I mean,
right.
even Luton is hitting above them right now.
It could be that the owners have faith and they're expecting a turnaround. Maybe they need to make a couple signs. I can't say whether I don't know if his job is in peril or not. I haven't heard any rumblings or anything like that.
Right, right.
You would think, you get promoted and poor results and you don't want to get demoted because that money you get from being in the Premier League. But I haven't heard any rumblings about it. So it could be that the managers, the owners have faith, the fans have faith. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And we have some games coming up tomorrow. West Ham versus Arsenal is one of those games, Christoph. What's your predicted scoreline for that one?
Um, so West Ham did beat Arsenal in the Carling Cup, I believe, but also I think Arsenal were not at their best at that game. Um, Arsenal having drawn with Liverpool will want to bounce back with a win. And I think Arsenal will have more than enough to beat West Ham. I think it's going to be a more difficult match than they expect, but I'm expecting probably a 3-1 win to Arsenal. But it's a very precarious 3-1, especially because at the moment Arsenal are struggling with goals. Arsenal will dominate possession, they're not getting shots against them. There's not a lot of shots against them, but they're struggling to create goals and the chances that they do get, the strikers are not scoring or they need way too many chances to score one goal. So I do expect Arsenal to win 2-1, 3-1, but I think it's going to be tougher for them than they expect just because they're not getting those goals.
Yes, this should be a very interesting game, you could say a London derby, so to speak. This one taking place at the Emirates. Arsenal looking to bounce back with a win and to keep pace at the top of the league currently. So West Ham, bit indifferent of late, picking up a few good results here and there, but then being battered 5-4 at other times. So it's very up and down, to be honest. I'm hoping that they will rise to the occasion in this one, but it's hard to see beyond an Arsenal victory. I think West Ham will score, however, so possibly a tight 2-1 win for Arsenal, but I definitely see both teams scoring, and it would not surprise me, to be honest, if West Ham did get something from this game, even a draw. I mean, their front two, kudos, and Bowen have been playing some really good football, and Paqueta in the midfield there have been finding the passes to create a few openings. So, this should be a good test for Arsenal to see where they're at, to see if they can continue with their pursuit of the title, or they may come up on a roadblock in this one. But I'm thinking Arsenal should get a win from this one. But any final thoughts, Christoph? We're quickly running out of time. Any final thought in terms of the football in action taking place thus far?
I think we have an interesting couple of matches that are coming up shortly. I'm at Arsenal, West Ham to decide, who will be at the top of the table on the weekend. Tottenham will play Brighton. You're expecting that to be a brilliant game. Yeah, I'm expecting Tottenham to just kind of sweep away Brighton in that one. I think more telling than the matches coming up is the start of the January transfer window to see what players will do. Will the teams, Liverpool and Arsenal specifically, um, dip into the transfer market in January to try and bolster the squad? Because Arsenal currently probably need a backup for Declan Rice with Partey out injured since for it's been a while. It's been a while. I don't remember when he got injured, but he's been out a long time and he's going to be out a while. Arsenal probably need an upgrade to Zinchenko at left back. I did hear that Jiran Timber is coming, will be fit sooner than expected, so that might be a factor in their decisions. But I think some reinforcements are needed, specifically for Arsenal and for Liverpool. Man City not so much. I did say I think Man City need a backup for Rodri, but I don't think they'll dip and do that. But definitely Arsenal and Liverpool need to reinforce their squads if they are to make a push for the title this season.
Well, there you have it, the viewers and subscribers. Some wise words there from Christophe, really sharing his opinion there as it relates to the transfer market. But viewers and subscribers, again, I'd just like to thank you for tuning in to us here on Beating the Press podcast. Your support has been tremendous over the period, and we hope that it will continue into the new year. But until next time, have a wonderful Christmas and Happy New Year when it comes. This is Rafa signing off.